competitiveness is the name of the game. Not this year, but over the last months. I mean, last year is the new commission. So definitely it's one of the most important topics that we have to address as the European Union. And there are a lot of files that are being produced and presented and published by the European Commission, the Clean Industrial Deal, the very recent Industrial Accelerator Act proposal. So Sonia, I would like to get your view and your assessment so far. How do you see it? Are those documents that the Commission is putting on the table can really help us somehow address the challenges that we have as the European economy? Or is it something that is just going to be discussed and we're going to forget about this? Or maybe even it will backfire and make it a little bit more difficult for the European economy, Polish industry to revive?
Okay, thank you for having me here. I guess it is important that the European Commission finally recognizes the problem of declining industrial competitiveness and the need to respond, because technically the time's up. So these documents are an attempt to address the issues that were mentioned many times by the industry for a long period of time. And Europe is starting from the significant delayed position, in a sense that we have costly energy, the high dependence from the important fossil fuels, but also some technical problems and inefficiencies in financing the innovative businesses. So I would say the problem is that it is some form of trilemma that cannot be solved overnight. So we have security, cost, and industrial capacity, production capacity that cannot be fixed overnight. And from this perspective, Poland is in a very difficult position, in a sense that we still have this very emission-intensive economy, which means that because of this energy mix, we have high carbon footprint and high energy prices, and this can push us out of the European value chains in favor of European competitors, which is a difficult discussion right now. Well, this is exactly why every possible measure to reduce this impact is more than welcome. And from this perspective, the Clean Industrial Deal is part of the solution, in a sense that it provides an opportunity to build some answer to the challenges that are ahead or that are right now on the table, because we already know that there are some, that decarbonization can be perceived also as something this might be beneficial for companies and that gives profits. So for the Polish and European economy, this might be a program, a modernization program that brings prosperity in the upcoming decades. So we cannot easily say that it will be 100% sure that it will bring us prosperity, but we know that with no alternatives and no other actions undertaken, it will be difficult to be still a prosperous region globally. So from this perspective, the net zero is creating a large and expanding market for both traditional and innovative products, and it should be perceived like this way. But finally, you've started the question about the documents. So Poland should be much more active in terms, or proactive in terms of shaping these documents, because this is the overall proposition that can be acceptable or maybe not for 27 countries, while we should be much more active in terms of shaping it in a way that is satisfactory for the Polish economy right now and in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's like music to my ears, because we agree at this as Business and Science Poland that really the voice of Polish business has to be more active and heard louder and clearer here in Brussels. But my question is, because you said that those files should take into account the needs, the circumstances of the Polish economy, but what's the secret sauce? What should be done to ensure that Polish, and maybe not even Polish, maybe even companies from the region, because today we talk beyond Poland, so let's say from the CE region. What should be done? What kind of measures, what kind of tools should be introduced, or maybe emphasize a little bit more to make sure that we can maybe not take advantage, but at least benefit from it, from what's going on, and not be left behind?
So maybe let's take a gold standard here. I mean, the SAFE program, which started as a Polish initiative, and there it was successfully and actively driven forward. So I believe that after 20 years as an EU member state and as a G20 economy, it is high time for Poland to be, to shape the European framework more proactively. So this is exactly what I would expect to see when it comes to the clean tech solutions, because this is the part of the story. And today, this Industrial Accelerator Act, it's not the document that was actively shaped by the Polish decision makers, in a sense that we need to push to broaden the IAA framework in a way that it satisfies the current Polish economic structure and industrial structure. So one example would be to give the European copper the same status as green steel has. Because if we want to have electrified European economy, it is not possible to have it without European copper, technically. But let's think maybe more broadly. So Poland should also shape be maybe more active in terms of how to become a producer of the key clean tech components of European origin. So this European origin is something that is strongly built into the concept of IAA. And now, I guess, Poland with its industrial base should play here an important role. But finally, the IAA also has some provisions on permitting and industrial zones. And what we know, this is some test for effective governance. So I guess this is the test that we must pass. And finally, what I see here is that it is not especially surprising that countries are fighting for its own interest. So from this perspective, we have like three major European industrial players, so Germany, France, and Italy. And Poland should be equally determined in pushing this framework in a way that it defends its own interests. So this is part of the story, that we should be aware of our strengths and weaknesses, but also very much determined in defending our interests. So I guess this is the part, and this is the secret sauce behind the Industrial Accelerator Act and also the whole framework of Clean Industrial Deal.
Okay, thank you very much. I will do one follow-up on this Clean Industrial Deal. And you mentioned it already, clean tech, right? So this is something that is being, in the Clean Industrial Deal, emphasized and mentioned as one of the two pillars that the decarbonization of the Europeans should focus on. Decarbonizing hard-to-abate industry, but also developing clean tech. So I wonder, maybe now moving a little bit from Brussels to Poland, what should be the approach towards clean tech in Poland? Do you think we should focus on all the technologies, or maybe just choose some of the champions and focus on those technologies where we have some competitive advantage? What would be the best way for Poland to make sure that we are, part of this decarbonization process?
So I guess most people do not realize how significant the Poland's potential for clean tech really is right now. So from this perspective, the path to net zero is a window of opportunity that should be used by Poland. And the number of countries that are competing here for this growing market is increasing. So the time's now. For us, successful EU value chains are extremely important because we are part of these value chains. But at the same time, we should be very dedicated to securing the most attractive niches out of these EU value chains. And here is the story about the clean tech as well, because we already have strong foundations. So in addition to being the world's second largest battery exporter globally, Poland is one of the leaders in terms of railway and buses. We provide some significant components in photovoltaic value chains. We are producing cables and transformers. We have also what we've heard from the last in the Fireside chat, that our contribution to offshore wind chains also increases, and this is subject to huge satisfaction. But it's also important to remember that supporting firms is you may support them in two ways. So once to support the ones with local content and domestic capital, which is the most beneficial part, but we can also draw some benefits from supporting or maybe locating foreign companies, mainly because of the fact that we are expecting a know-how transfer. So this is the part that should be emphasized here, and much depends on the maturity of a given industry, and it varies from one clean tech value chain to another. So, well, in practical terms, we should focus on two tracks. So first one is the scaling up the value chains that are already competitive, and in order to make sure that we are able to consolidate the Poland's position by 2030. But second one is focusing on some next generation solutions that will lead us to supplying the market, so the domestic market later on. And here I would expect to have good and reliable regulations, some stable flow of funds, and ability to solve some sector-specific bottlenecks, because this is how we are going to scale up the clean tech production in Poland. And one concrete example here is how to make most of the competitiveness fund, because this is very difficult for us because it somehow competes with the cohesion funds. So how to make most of it?
Okay, thank you very much, and I couldn't agree more. I think scaling up is a really big challenge that is overlooked. So I hope, based on those discussions and mentioning this topic, we will focus a little bit more on scaling up those technologies that we already have. I have one last question for you, very short, because also being aware of the time. In discussions that we have with companies in Poland, we offer her, especially from the clean tech sector, we offer her that there is lack of predictability, clarity, some long-term vision. So I wonder, from your perspective, whether there should be some long-term strategy on supporting clean tech, like you said, picking the right battles, not focusing on everything, just to make sure that the companies can know more where is the pathway to taking full advantage of this process that we are facing.
Okay, so this is probably the most painfully missing document in Poland right now, especially from the perspective of the industry. And I guess this is a document that should show the trends we would like to build on in order to secure our future prosperity and security. It should indicate where the limited domestic resources should go, how to redistribute the EU funds, how to design the legislation, and finally, how to negotiate the EU framework. So this is extremely important from this perspective. But beyond simply being written, I guess this should be a real-life manual for the administration at the local level, at the central level, and of course for all stakeholders, so that they could make sound decisions even when there are no clear guidelines. So just to give a flavor on what is important for us and what not necessarily. So I would say this is everything. That this kind of document is about creating some greater consistency between various stakeholders and making us more efficient in terms of promoting what is Polish, and of course increasing the efficiency of the public support, because it's something that we really need right now.
Great message to end our conversation. Thank you very much, Sonia.